It's Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, as we sit in the middle of one of the best times, if not the best time in the world to be a sports fan. And we also sit here on this Veterans Day. So our thoughts and our thank yous and everything go out to all the military members and their families for their service and their time and their dedication to letting us do the things that we love to do on a day-to-day basis, like play in the toy department or talk sports. What would you do if I gave you the opportunity to do something really, really stupid for the low price of $2,000? We'll get to that on tonight's program. How 9.5 months really does change everything. A Power 5 debate and some crowded clusters in some playoff pictures and some numbers to start the week that'll absolutely blow your freaking mind. It is a Ticket Tuesday. So we'll have some ticket buys and values for you, as well as another pop quiz for Vegas Mack on this Tuesday. Gosh. Plenty of stuff to get to. Follow along, comment along. If you're watching along, we appreciate you. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. And this is the point of the program, before I bring Vegas Mack fully into the fold here today, that I do a little bit of groveling. And if you're watching, wherever you're watching us, whether it be on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, we might even be in other places that I don't even totally know about right now. All you got to do is hit the subscribe or like button, and it goes a lot longer way than you actually realize it does. I talk to so many people throughout the general course of the week or wherever we go, all of us do, about the show and trying to grow the program as best we can. And you'd be surprised how many people think that they're following the show that are not. So just do us a favor. Double check. Make sure you're subscribed, liked, following along, or whatever. That being said, all that fun minutia out of the way, let's talk some sports. And of course, it's Tuesday, so I'm going to do that with my main man, Vegas Mack. What is going on, my brother?
Oh, not much. What a day. What a day. Thank you to all the veterans who have served in the past. Serving right now, I have two of my son-in-laws are both in the military, so I thank them and just everything they do, everything, all the little things, all the big things. So it's it makes our life so much better, easier, and much more fun. Played a little golf today.
Nice.
Hit the ball a little bit more than I wanted to, but that's okay. Haven't played in a while, so okay. I was fairly happy. So. Wife made a great dinner. Well, she did. It was a great dinner. She made the family favorite. She made breakfast for dinner. Can't go wrong with that. But yeah, not always Dad's favorite. I mean, I'm just kind of that routine guy. But hey, listen, nothing better than some pancakes and some bacon and eggs. So I'm ready to go. Let's talk some sports. I got a couple of things.
Keep talking. I'm trying not to burn down the studio.
I will. I've got a couple of things that I'm not real happy about. Somewhere. Well, both of them deal with football. One college football. One is professional football, and I'm very excited. Vegas is the place. The GM meetings are underway. I'm just waiting for stuff to happen, right? I mean, a lot of talk. That's great, but somebody make a deal, baby. Somebody make a deal.
Yeah, well, okay. We'll get to that here in a second. Number one, I had to light the incense. For whom tonight, I don't know, but there will be. Last week it was for Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. Today, if I've lit the incense, I'm trying to bring in good things for the future of somebody's athletic endeavors. Yes, it is the family fave, according Mama Mack. She has confirmed that. Also, Mama Mack in with the medical report on Vegas Mack for tomorrow. He will be a game time decision for tomorrow night's show. Might not be able to sit his old ass down. But,
no.
We talk about this a lot. And when T's back on with us tomorrow, we'll share some pictures from his exciting Saturday. But I
Ugh,
always tell you guys, if you're out there and you're at a game, you're at a first time event in a stadium you haven't been to, or you're just taking a really cool sports road trip, send us the pictures. Email
absolutely.
them to us at Mike, or email them. MikeAranaShow@gmail is the easiest way to do that. And one of our Twitter fans, well, our boy Cody was in Chicago this weekend to see his beloved New York Giants take on the Chicago
Nice.
Bears in what turned out to be Brian Dable's last game as the
Ugh,
head coach of the New York Giants. But there's a view from Cody's seats here of Giants' new quarterback who will be looking for a new coach next year, Jackson Dart, before the game. I'm sure he really appreciated the bear down flag right in his face. And then this is the kind of stuff I want to see because our audience, I think, is very unique. So here's another picture that Cody sent me, and from their vantage points, great seats. They are in
yeah,
the front row.
I was gonna
And
say, was he on the sideline or what?
so now I want, for full context here, he is not the guy decked out in the all brown uh, toasted marshmallow man get up there. He's the guy looking like he's about to bust your kneecaps, leaning on the rail right behind him, standing up. That's our boy Cody up there next to his lovely
Nice.
wife. So they got to see an interesting one. Obviously, not a great one if you're fans of Big Blue, but as I have told you guys go out on these cool road trips. You're going to these incredible sports experiences. Share them with us, and we'll get some and as many of them up there as we can. So that was from our boy Cody on X.
That's
So
awesome.
appreciate Cody sending those in and sharing those from his trip this weekend. This is I think this was an indicator to me, Mac, this weekend as I clicked the wrong button. There we go. Because seeing us in a fuller screen is always good for your eyes. So he sends me a picture. Cody does on Friday night. Fiance and I went out for some rare Friday night drinks. Don't get out of the house much, and he sends me a picture and with no caption, and it really wasn't a picture where I could call this out right away. And I go, "Hey, is that the DraftKings Sportsbook attached to Wrigley Field?" He's like, "How the hell do you even know that?" I'm like, "I got high friends in low places, my brother." So, again, if you're on one of those once in a lifetime, trips, sports trips, send us the pictures. We will gladly share them
Yeah, we
with you.
love
But
that.
as always, off the top of the program, Mac, it's time to go a little unscripted and check out what's trending in the sports world. And as you kind of alluded to, we have the baseball GM meetings going on in Vegas. We're starting to get some little bit of traction here to start the season as far as it goes on players and possible guys that could be traded. I think the biggest name of which that came out today was that of Ketel Marte, and that the Diamondbacks might actually be interested in shopping him. There you get a guy who's a borderline MVP candidate, has a very tradable contract, a very team-friendly contract. And what do the Diamondbacks need? Well, we know what they need. They need pitching. Specifically, they need healthy pitching. And at this point, Marte might be one of those guys that goes on the move. And it's always interesting to see these things. I know this is your favorite time of the year. For me, it's like I need another 3 weeks, and then I can kind of get my baseball brain back into things. I need a little bit of a break. But Nolan Arenado, we're going to hear his name again. Apparently, him and the Cardinals are on the same page going into potential trade talks. I think we're going to see a very, very interesting offseason. And we'll also see who's going to choose to not even try and participate for next year, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, again, I keep looking at this board of free agents, and it's not the one or two like the last couple of years. You had Judge, you had Soto. This year, we've got a lot of arms. We got some big bats. I mean, it's a really deep free agent pool this year, and I also think beyond that, I think there's some teams that are looking to trade some good players, and we don't always get to see that. But we heard a little bit of rumbling with Scrubble and Detroit that that could trade. You just mentioned Marte with the D-backs. The Red Sox have numerous young players that quite possibly could get moved. And so I think this offseason is going to be very, very interesting with baseball because there's a lot of teams and here's the thing, and I say this all the time, when the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and maybe you throw the Tigers in there, when those teams are part of free agency and part of these trades, it makes us off season so much better. No offense to the Padres or the Pirates or teams like that. Just the big name teams make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think what would be nice for us as baseball fans, like there's certain things we already know is likely to and are most likely to happen. Dude, one of these weeks before the end of the year, I'm going to master the English language just for 4 consecutive shows. I swear, that's my goal. But let's get out of the way that we know Max Scherzer is going to be a San Francisco Giant if he chooses to play baseball next year. I can guarantee you that because of his connections to Tony Vitello. The other thing that we know is that we've got a lot of teams that were very, very close this year and one impact player away, whether that be a guy to lock down the backside of the bullpen, a bridge guy in the bullpen, a great bat off the bench. So many teams were so close. So I'm really interested to see what certain teams do and what their approach is to the offseason. Like we just talked about with the D-backs, for example, they desperately need pitching. The Giants, another team that desperately needs pitching and is being linked again already to a lot of players with decent-sized names, one of which being Kyle Tucker, which is a position of need for the Giants. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot, but, so I think when we get into that part here, and to me, it seems like it's always right around the first week of December. It's like we get through Thanksgiving, and then there's that. But then there's also this kind of stuff from last week. And Emmanuel Clase made over $12 million as a relief pitcher, was set to pocket an additional $6.4 million next season from the Guardians at just 27 years old. The ability to throw 95-mile-an-hour cutters. And he's part of an indictment now on a gambling probe for pitch fixing. And this is where the story makes you go, if I told you you have to do something stupid, but I'll give you $2,000, most people would say yes to that and not ask the context. Well, some of these pitches, now that we're seeing this indictment out, as little as $2,000 compensation to throw up the first pitch in the dirt or to take a little off. And by the way, if you're one of those people, and I know you can bet on a lot of different things, I get it. But if you're one of those people that's betting on whether or not a pitch will be over or under 97.5 miles per hour, there is a number attached to every sports wagering website, and it is for people like you, because that's a little ridiculous. There's been further action by baseball here. But to throw away $20 million for as low as $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, I don't get it sometimes, man. I really don't. And there's probably more layers to this story that we don't even know, Mac. But What in the F are you thinking, dude?
Yeah, I mean, I hope, not in a way, I hope that there's more to the story, because these are guys that are making, so much money. And to, like you said, for an extra $2,000, I know it doesn't seem like a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of those players that come over from like in the Dominican and whatnot, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there that we don't know. We've seen it, even with someone like a David Ortiz,
Right.
David Ortiz, a great guy, but he, remember he almost got shot and killed, a few years back because of crap that goes, on there. I mean, we know that just there's a dark side to the Dominican as well. So you just don't know how much maybe that had to play in a role of something like this. Either way, it's just not good. But I will tell you, I mean, I will. We don't always do this, but baseball's got it right with this so far. Baseball's done a really good job. They took the very, very proactive approach as soon as they found things were going in the wrong direction with these guys. And, we saw even with Wander Franco. But baseball's done a pretty good job with, unfortunately, these kind of incidents.
I think that Major League Baseball needs to launch an investigation into 2 of the 3 years that Gabe Kapler was the manager of the Giants, because the only thing that makes any logical sense was intentionally fixing games from a managerial standpoint. I'm just throwing that out there. 9.5 months can make a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives, Mac. And 9.5 months ago, Nico Harrison picked up a telephone and asked the Los Angeles Lakers if they'd be interested in Luka Doncic. Now, as we sit here almost 9.5 months to the day of when he started that process, he's now starting the moving process because he's out of a job. The Mavericks fired Nico Harrison, announced on Tuesday morning, and Cooper Flagg had a career night the other night, but you couldn't hear it in the building because all you heard was fire Nico chants. I am shocked that it went this far. I think Stevie Wonder could have picked Cooper Flagg number 1 overall. I think that there was no point and there was nothing that potentially could have came out of this for the Mavericks positive by bringing him back for this year. You should have just walked him out the door, let somebody else pick Cooper Flagg. Again, Stevie Wonder could have pulled it off. I'm pretty sure that was possible. I question the timing of this from a Mavericks team, and I get that they've started 3-8, but you knew when he traded Luka Doncic that his days should have been numbered right at that point from Dallas, and another signal from the Dallas new ownership group that seemingly has no kind of idea what they're trying to do in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, we thought it was kind of weird when Mark Cuban was, running things, in Dallas. But it's this is just a weird thing. I mean, I've never. I mean, you've seen GMs make weird trades, bad trades, good trades, however you want to look at it, and you've seen fan bases really upset. I've never seen it to this extent where, and I mean, we're talking something that happened like you said last year. This isn't even something recent. I mean, talk about holding a damn grudge. This is something else. So I guess hats off to the fans. I mean, they really like their guy Luka. They did want him to go. They don't feel like they probably got what they needed in return. Things haven't looked good for the Mavs. Yeah, they got Cooper Flagg, but I guess hats off to the fans a little bit for sticking with it and making it happen. Yeah, I mean, power to the people, man. Power to the fans.
Patrick Dumont, the new owner of the Mavericks, penned a letter to the fans today, and he said, quote, "I understand the profound impact that these difficult last several months have had. Please know that I'm fully committed to the success of the Mavericks." Congratulations there, P. Dumont. You said the same stupid, useless bullshit to fans that every owner says when they make a decision like that. Do better next time. Numbers tell a little bit of the story, Mac, and we talk about it all the time. And our numbers of the week, which is Lesson Tuesday here, just some things that caught my attention from the weekend. Are you ready for some of these?
Let's go.
Matthew Stafford and the Rams go into San Francisco, a game we'll talk about in a little more detail next, or at the end of the program when we get into the NFL. But that was Matthew Stafford's 115th career win, to go with 115 career losses and one tie. He reached a 500 career winning percentage for the first time ever. That's the most starts by a quarterback before reaching 500 since starts were first tracked in 1950. My favorite part about this stat coming out was one of the blog pages for the Lions, Honolulu Blues on X. They quote tweeted it, and it says, "Yeah, that's our bad." For how it took so long to get him there. But in all the amazing things that Matthew Stafford's been able to accomplish in his career, it's so funny nowadays to see how many people are like, "Oh hell, Matt Stafford's a Hall of Famer." Like, Matt Stafford was probably pushing Hall of Fame before he even went to the Rams. I mean, the dude's always been a Hall of Famer to me because he's got monster numbers. And again, we don't have to sit here and say that the Hall of Fame is always about the best players, just like the MVP is not always the most valuable player. That was the first from the weekend, Mac. I know you like to have fun with scores and numbers here, so we had two games in that disastrous Sunday afternoon window that finished with the exact same score of 44-22. The Lions over the Commanders and the Seahawks over the Cardinals. There have only been 4 games in the history of the NFL that have ended with that score. 2 happened on Sunday. The third of those 4 happened just a month earlier, October 19th, between the Cowboys and the Commanders. So that's the third time this season we've had that exact same score, and only 4 times in NFL history. A little bit of a mind blower for me there.
And the Commanders were in 2 of them, right? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I love that. Yes. I love when you can. I love when you can look at the numbers like that, and I mean, that's kind of cool. But the Stafford thing really kind of, I guess we have to remember he played on some pretty poor teams. But you just, I would not have guessed if you would have asked me if you would have started off and say, you know, does he have a winning record as a starter? I would have said yes, and I wouldn't have even blinked an eyelash.
Yeah, and
That
I
was a
think
good
that's
one.
the thing with Stafford that a lot of people like have really, really forgotten. Here's another thing too. This
Mm-hmm.
will blow your mind. Derrick Henry's been in the NFL, Mac, for 10 seasons now. 10 seasons. He's in his 10th season, 144 games, which is a lot in 10 seasons for a guy that plays
Mm-hmm.
as physical as he does. In his 10 seasons in the NFL, he has a grand total of 12,052 yards. Okay.
1052.
He is
Got it.
still behind his high school yards total in 4 years, which was 12,124, capped off by his senior season, where he had 462 carries for 4,261 yards and 55 touchdowns. You
Man, oh
imagine
man.
trying to tackle that dude in high school?
No,
I'd have been like,
cannot.
nope,
No,
nope, I'm good.
that's the equivalent to like a pitcher throwing, you know, 200 pitches like every game that he starts in high school.
I
That's
know.
crazy. I mean, did they actually run another play besides hand the ball off to him? I mean, seriously, like I'm just asking.
They used Lincoln Riley and Matt LaFleur's playbooks of halfback dive from Madden all
There
game
you
long. All
go.
right.
Gosh darn it.
Final note in our headlines here will transition us right into college football. And we had an interesting weekend on the college football gridiron. We're going to talk about some winners and losers from this past weekend, as well as the obvious elephant in the room, and that is the new college football playoff poll, which was dropped about an hour ago. And you'll see there that there is only one team from the ACC, and that would be Miami at the 11th ranking on there. And granted, you have to remember, because of the group of five bid, which is the first thing we're going to talk about, one of these teams gets pushed out. So your first two teams out that are not in would be Oklahoma and BYU in that order, because if you see up top, South Florida is now in the catbird seat for the group of five bid. And Mac and I had a very interesting conversation from this past weekend. And I know I skipped over college hoops here. We'll get back to that
It's
in a
okay.
second.
Yeah.
But, you know, the group of five bid. And this isn't probably the best year to have this argument, considering if you look at who the highest seeded ACC team is, Miami, and who the group of five bid is, South Florida, are basically right on top of each other here. South Florida was ranked 24th overall, but because of the group of five bid, they would move into that spot. Which begs the question, how much longer are we going to do this group of five automatic bid? Because, and Mac, you and I have had this conversation several times, and I think this is a great point to start it on. When we talk about the group of five teams, and right now it's basically going to be South Florida or it's going to be James Madison. There's other teams that have a shot, but it's going to be one of those two. But the ACC barely having a team represented in there shows us that maybe there doesn't need to be an auto qualifier, but maybe the top five conference champions in whatever form or fashion they come into. There's a lot of different ways we can take this. I think we're over the group of five thing already as the first starting point, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like this argument. You know, it used to be where you talked about like going to school. You know, do you allow somebody to come in and take a spot in school because, and I'll use the word of kind of diversity, as opposed to somebody who maybe truly deserves to have that spot. And that's what this is about. This is about diversity, making sure everybody has a chance to get into this bracket. But I think this is my honest feeling about this. Can a South Florida or a team like that this year, can they win a game? Yeah, I mean they probably could. We've seen that. But realistically, are they going to be able to put two or three of these victories together? I just don't see it. College football is different than most other college sports. It's it just is. I mean, we see it in basketball. You can have teams from these power these these lower conferences get to a championship game and maybe even win. You can see it because basketball is a different sport. Football is different. Football is about money. It's really truly is. Football is about money because you're going to get the best players, the biggest players, the strongest players, and and the teams like Alabama, your Floridas, your Penn States, those teams are going to be able to do it on a consistent basis. This group of five, you're not going to be able to compete. And here's the thing. Would you rather see if you take that South Florida team out, no offense to them or anybody who's in that spot, but honestly, as a football fan, as a college football fan, would you rather see Oklahoma in that spot or one of those other teams? I honestly rather would see Oklahoma or BYU in that spot than South Florida because I just know that it's going to be a better game. South Florida is not going to go into Georgia and beat Georgia. It's not going to happen. Sorry, it's not.
I don't know. So I'm a little torn here because I think if you're going to constitute college football the way that we're constituting it right now, where you have the Power Four and then you have the Group of Five, which covers primarily right now just the Mountain West and the American. Next year it'll be the Mountain West, the American, and the new Pac-12, which will have Boise State in it. So how does that change everything? I think, and I know you agree with this. I still think Chip Kelly laid out the scenario to do this better than anybody did. You take like the top 100 teams in the country, you put them in 20 team regions, however you want to do all that stuff. It's not the important part of it. You take the top 100, and that's based on NIL, consistency of winning, size of the schools, everything like that. You take the next 100, you drop them down, you drop the next whatever's left down. Now you have a Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think all of us would absolutely love that. I think if we're going to continue to do it the way that we're doing it now, and you have these mega conferences, and we joke about it all the time. T calls the Big Ten, not the Big Ten. He calls it the Big 27 because, it seems like the numbers never add up. What I want to see then, if you're going to have these mega conferences, I want to see you give me the number 1 team in the conference against the number 4 team, the number 2 versus the number 3, and you play a conference semifinal and then a conference championship game. And the contrary argument to that, and I know T would say this because this is one thing that drives him crazy about the college football playoff, is how long it takes. I say, we're already damn near going to the Super Bowl. What's one more weekend or 2 more weekends of elongating this out? Eventually, what we know, Mac, as much as we don't want to admit this and we don't like it, if the model continues to stay in this, and we're talking about maybe even expanding this 12-teamer to 16 or whatever, the bowl games are going to be insignificant unless you divide this up into Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 by hundreds or however the math has to math. The other bowl games are going to go away. If we're going to leave it like this, then I need you to prove to me that you're a conference champion. And how it pertains to the group of 5 teams is we would have some kind of mix this year of South Florida, Memphis, let's just throw Tulane out there, and James Madison. So you got 2 semifinal games there. Then you got the 2 best teams out of that. And now I know definitively your group of 5 team is the only team left standing. To go by your argument, will they actually be able to compete with a Georgia or somebody like that? That remains to be seen. Because it's going to happen eventually once. Whether it's this year or not, I think we're going to see it within the first couple of years. Because the gap is not as big as it was between number 1 and number 25 anymore. I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I don't see them being able to run I don't see them be able to win 3 games in a row. I just don't. I think that's too much to ask for those lower division programs in football. I just think that it's too much. I don't know. Like I said, one of the things that we talked about in that scenario is, make another division, kind of, in essence, the way you talked about it, it's kind of like how they do it in high school. You have these different divisions, they base it on enrollment and some other things. But, I think, if it's about winning a championship, let's think about it. When you start the football season, the college football season, you have X number of football teams as Division 1. How many really go into the year saying we could win a national championship?
how many that
No,
I
seriously.
really think could actually win it, or how many go in thinking they could win it?
How many of these Division One schools go in and think we could win a national championship? I'll give you an example. I'll just use mine. Like UConn. UConn's had a nice season. They're 7-3. There's no way at the beginning of the season, Coach Moore goes, "All right, guys, this is it. We have a chance to win the national championship." There's no way. There's just it doesn't.
With that logic, I agree with you. With that logic, I do agree with you because in your example for UConn's sense, if Jim Mora really wanted to win a quote national championship at UConn, he would schedule Texas Tech in a non-conference game. You're not scheduling those teams because your objective is to go to the best bowl game you possibly can.
Right.
It's all fine and good. That's great. We know UConn's a basketball school. That's where I think separating these. There's 300 and what 30, 60 something teams like that in Division One. You can do the math on it. It's like put 90 in each conference and call it good. Division 1, 2, 3, and then your Division 2 becomes Division 4. However you want to do that. That's for people that make way more money than we do.
Right.
I think there's something to it though.
Right, but if they were, say they were in that second group, but we'll say they're in that second tier, could you say that they could win a national championship then? Yeah, you could. You could say that. They could go up against some of these teams and win a national championship. So again, it's I guess it's just expectations. I mean, you start a season no matter where you are, from high school, college, pro, and the goal is to win a championship. Well, let's be honest. Like you said, if there's 300 college football teams in Division One, I would say there's no more than 30 that start a season knowing that they could win a championship.
I mean, you're probably not wrong. I mean, honestly, you're probably not wrong. It's a great debate, and if you've got thoughts on the Group of Five bid, lay it out here because I know that there's people that are fans of Group of Five schools. I mean, we saw Oregon State push for a national title one year. I wouldn't consider Oregon State a top Division One in this new format that we're talking about kind of program. I think they could be a really damn good Division Two team in that kind of format, and I think that's what we need to see more of. These schools are going to have money to spend. We need to spread the wealth out a little bit. Let's put the graphic back up here for where we stand as of tonight's ranking. So obviously nothing's changed in the top four. The positioning, as we mentioned last week, of the rest of those teams are all going to kind of flip-flop quite a bit, especially everywhere but that 12 spot, because that's going to be South Florida or James Madison. What I implore the committee to do here, especially since they meet in Grapevine, Texas, so this just makes even more sense. And you could probably see where I'm going. Obviously, as we sit right now, Texas A&M, with the guy I think you should lay money on right now to win the Heisman, because they think it's his to win. So Texas A&M, the number 3. I need to see Texas Tech and Texas in a game to see who gets the right to go play Texas A&M. That's what I need to see. So if we're going to do this, why don't we screw around with some things? Let's talk winners and losers, though. And obviously, now that we see the bracket, it helps us put this in a little better context for you. Let's start. I'll go with you, Mack. Go on your biggest loser you think of the teams in the race to get on this final graphic here at the end of the year.
I'll tell you, I have a hard with Miami being on there. I have a hard time with that. I'm just going to start there because they don't deserve to be in that spot. You can't tell me there are 5 teams ahead of them in the conference. This is faulty advertising. That's what this is. This is faulty advertising. But I'm.
Is it though?
Yeah. If I'm Georgia Tech, I am freaking pissed off right now. Why they are there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 6 teams ahead of Miami. I'm sorry, you're selling me trash right now. This is not true. This is a lie. Miami doesn't have the upper hand in this, not at all. I mean, they may be the better team of this, but listen, this is not right. I do not like that Miami is in there. just put ACC champion on there or something. But to put Miami on there is wrong. I'd rather see Virginia or Pitt or Duke or damn SMU. Did SMU freaking beat Miami? I mean, put SMU there. Miami doesn't deserve to be there. You're just trying to make it look good.
Okay, so here's the counter to your argument there then. Miami is up there because of the number 9 team that they beat and the team that would get listed 12 who is actually ranked 24 that they also beat. And that's, I think, the only reason if you look at that graphic where you can go, this is the only thing that makes any sense for Miami to be up here. And
right, but
it leads to an interesting argument here. Do you, now that we've been told they're evaluating how you play in close losses even more, Miami, I think, is the team that you really have to go, okay, here's what happened. But then the other factor in it is how much are we weighing early season losses against late season losses, which, whether they want to admit it or not, is something that we have seen play out very publicly over the last couple of years. I can see your case on Miami. I think the reason that they're still up there is specifically because of Notre Dame and South Florida.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. You know, the ACC has to have a team. We know that.
Do they have to, though?
Well, they do have to have a team. I mean, that's the rule, right? They have to have a team in there. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if I'm Georgia Tech, I'm pissed off right now. I just, you know, the ACC always screws with us anyway. The last couple of years, they've done nothing but screw with us in this whole thing. They've made it really difficult for us to figure it out. They're making it so difficult this year. I mean, that's the first thing that just really threw me. I'm just like, I of all the teams they put in there, I can't believe they put Miami. That's.
And I don't think you're the only person that feels that way. And here's the thing that I'll say to Georgia Tech people, because I've said this because I still believe it. Georgia Tech's still going to get their opportunity to show that they are clearly the best team in the ACC. We have a little recency bias thing going on here because they just lost the last time we saw them play. On the flip side of that, Georgia Tech still has a game with number 22 Pitt. That's a home game for them in Atlanta. They also have a home game in Atlanta against number 5 Georgia, and then the ACC title game. So Georgia Tech, I think, is still very much in control of their fate. But I think we're dealing with a little bit of a recency thing there. The flip side to this, the other thing I found really interesting here, and I'll give you my biggest loser, if you will, out of this past weekend, and I think it is the ACC, because not only did, you get the loss from Louisville, but you also got the loss in there from Virginia, who a lot of people had just started taking notice of. So I think that's something that'll be interesting to play out. My biggest loser, though, is the entire ACC conference, because if you're looking at this is point blank clear. They are getting one team and barely getting the one team in that they get. So now it's a matter of, is the conference actually going to produce us their actual top team? Because we don't know. Is it SMU just smacked Miami? Is it Louisville who beat Miami? But then, crap their own bed? I mean, is it Duke who we're just not talking about right now? Hell, this title game could still end up being like SMU and Duke for all we know. That's a problem if you're the ACC this late into the year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not even a coin flip. You need multiple coins flipping in order to figure this out. It's like, you see that video that went, it's, from the Friday Night Lights where they have the Texas high school coaches. They meet at a gas station. Yeah, you're gonna have all the ACC coaches. They're gonna meet at a Waffle House, and they're gonna flip coins. And that's how they're going to determine, all right, here we go, everybody, flip the coin on 3. Oh, man, it's SMU, Gosh.
Hey, Waffle House representatives, remember where you heard that. We pitched you for the ACC coin flip right here on this program.
That would actually be pretty epic, wouldn't it?
I think Buc-ee's would want a part of that. We could start a bidding war. Well, I mean, the ACC, we could talk to In-N-Out because the ACC's in California. We could talk to anywhere up the East Coast because they're there too. And we could venture in. we could get a bidding war going between Whataburger and
Oh my gosh.
Sonic, and we could turn this. All right,
Yeah,
that's it,
write
folks.
it
We got
down.
to
Write
go.
it.
That's all we got for tonight. Here's another thing I can see, and my initial thought was this too. Obviously, we all saw Texas Tech manhandle BYU this weekend, and I don't think a lot of us were surprised. I was, but it's not because of not thinking this Texas Tech team's good, because I early in the season said Baron Morton was on my short list of Heisman guys, and I think the one thing that's hurting Texas Tech here is the game that they lost without him. But when I look at this and I see no pathway, barring anything catastrophic from happening down the stretch here, for Texas Tech to have a chance to get one of those top 4 byes. And I think you could make a strong case for Texas Tech being one of the 4 best teams in the entire country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said,
they're kind of blocked in where they are, because I don't think they're going to leapfrog Georgia unless Georgia drops a couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And like you said, I was all on Texas Tech. I actually went to that game that they lost to ASU. I didn't think they looked good at all, but I mean, they were kind of in that transition phase where they still had some injuries, and they still almost won that game. But yeah, you're right. Unless I mean, I mean, Ohio State could. I mean, you never know. Ohio State, Michigan. We know anything can happen in that one. I mean, Ohio State, could lose. Is Indiana going to lose? I don't think so. I think Indiana's good. You know, we kind of didn't get to it last time, but I said the team that scares me the most on this right now is Texas. Texas is a team that's starting to scare me. They're starting to figure it out. It has taken them a long time. It has taken them 9 games into the season to kind of figure it out. And they're starting to figure it out. And that's a good team. That's a good defensive team. If they can figure it out from an offensive standpoint, oh, man. So I could see Texas beating Texas A&M. I could see that happening. So, is there a road there? Yeah, it's a road. It's a dirt road. It's probably an uphill dirt road, but there's a road.
Highly appropriate in the state of Texas.
Ah,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Mr. Texas from the Northeast here. I think the biggest winner to me, Mac, when I looked at everything this weekend, and I think you could see it with how they're reflected in this current form of the bracket if the season were to end today, is Oregon. And I'm interested to see how this plays out for the Ducks down the stretch, because we know right now it's likely to be Ohio State and Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. But what I'm interested to see is how Oregon's viewed by the committee here. You saw them move up after winning at Kinnick in what was probably the game of the weekend, Oregon and Iowa. And I think I'm interested to see how they view Oregon, because there's 2 ways to look at the Oregon-Penn State game to me. Number one, regardless of whatever the situation was at Penn State, I'm not even talking about watching the game. That's a tough place to play, especially in a whiteout. Oregon went in there, they got the job done, they won. We know that the next week, Penn State went and crapped the bed at the Rose Bowl to UCLA. So I think you can look at Oregon killing Penn State's season and give them credit for that, but I also think you can look at Oregon beating a bad Penn State team when we get to the end of the year, and how is it looked at that way. So I think beating Iowa, because Iowa looks like they're going to stay in that top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten, I think that Oregon comes out of this weekend kind of as the biggest winner to me, because they needed a game on their schedule. They played okay against Indiana, but kind of got blown out when you looked at the score. They didn't have anything like going, okay, this team is actually 8-1 good. I think Oregon comes out of this weekend slightly as a very big winner that kind of flies under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, I thought my big winner for this weekend was Alabama. I think that was a nice hurdle for them to get through LSU. They have really one more hurdle, and that's Oklahoma. And then after that, I mean, they're home free. They have Eastern Illinois and Auburn, which should not be a problem for them. I like I like how I like the way Alabama has responded to everything so far this year, including that first week one loss to Florida State. They've just done a good job in rebounding to everything that they did. I love where I mean they have to love where they are in that bracket. I mean they're either going to get a 12 seed or they maybe get Georgia, who they've already beat. I mean they're looking good. That's a prime spot for Alabama. They've got to be happy
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, absolutely is. And we'll get more into college football and the bracket on tomorrow's program as we look ahead to some of the big games. And there's quite a few of them this weekend in college football. Let's go to the college hardwood before we get to the NFL
Nice.
to finish up the show on this Ticket Tuesday. Feel free to comment along if you're watching along. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for us. We'd appreciate it. The college hoops season, Mac. We're gonna go through a couple of news and notes here before you get pop quiz number 2 on this
Nice.
early college hoop season. We've seen some interesting stuff so far, and I like to see. And this has been a trend we've seen in college hoops over the last couple of years. Is more of the big time programs scheduling each other in these standalone double header games. We know Danny Hurley's never going to go back to another invitational tournament, but UConn's never shying away from scheduling big teams. So it's a catch-22 because we don't know who is actually that good. There's some monster games on today. Louisville and Kentucky going on from the Yum Center in Louisville right now as we speak. Creighton and Gonzaga a little bit
That's a
later
great game.
tonight, late tip-off. We saw Kansas, Carolina, Bama, St. John's, Arkansas, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Gonzaga, Florida, Arizona, amongst some others in what was an exciting first week of the season. This week we've got a couple of games that we both liked as we looked at this week's schedule. What's been your biggest takeaway so far in the early college hoop season?
I think my biggest takeaway is I like seeing I like all the big games. It's there's something about starting your season with two or three really good good ranked opponents. I get that you want to throw your team out there, against like a UMass Lowell or whoever it is out there, and you get a big win. But there's nothing better than early season matchups against ranked teams on ranked teams. I mean, I can't wait to watch that Creighton Gonzaga game tonight. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, that Alabama St. John's game. I mean that's a Final Four game. I mean that's a Final Four type matchup. I mean, and Rick Pitino's not shy. He knows. He's like, listen, now it's a measuring stick, and as a coach, that's what you want. You want a measuring stick early in the season, and a game like that. Now you kind of know where your weak spots are, because that's what you want to find out. You don't find out your weak spots going against some of those lesser teams. So that's what I like about college basketball. These teams are not afraid to play each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like when I looked at just the first week in general, a couple of the takeaways that I had. Number one, this Kentucky team that's playing literally right now as we speak against Louisville. If this team is healthy, Mac, I think they might be the top to bottom deepest team in the country. Like Mark Pope has got some players there at Kentucky, and you go, well, it's Kentucky, of course he should. But, again, remember the timing of when Mark Pope got this job in the first place, and now we're really going to see the roster turned over there. Illinois, another team I think is going to be interesting because of the way they're playing this year in the Big Ten, a very European influence on Illinois' team, and I think you're starting to see some of that early. I'm very interested to see how it develops over the course of the year. Another one for me, and again, we'll get a better gauge on this tonight when they play Gonzaga, but Creighton is part of a Big East that, typically we laud as one of the best, if not the best conference in college basketball. I actually think the Big 12 might end up being the best conference this year. But on the flip side of that, I'm looking at this Big East right now, Mac, and I'm only seeing maybe 3 bids that I could go, yeah, these 3 teams are getting in right now, which would be kind of a low point over the last handful of years for the Big East.
Yeah, I mean, UConn, St. John's are definitely they should be the two top teams. There's always going to be one surprise. We know that there's always going to be one surprise in the Big East. Somebody's going to have a good run in there. Maybe, man, I don't even know. Georgetown, Providence, no, maybe.
It's about that. It'd be about that time for Ed Cooley at Georgetown. It wouldn't surprise me.
You know, I was going to say the Big East is a different beast. I mean, we just know that. I mean, it's totally different. I was going to say the one other team that I wanted to mention, I kind of started to is Alabama. Have you taken a look at their schedule?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they St. John's, then they have Purdue, then they have Illinois, they have Gonzaga, UNLV. I threw UNLV in there just for nostalgia. But I know we're going to talk about this game a little bit. The comments from Rick Pitino that he made about this team makes me really want to gravitate towards what this Alabama team can do. When Rick Pitino says that we have trouble guarding these guys off the dribble, and that we need to be they were more physical than we were. Those are two things that stand out, because those are two things that I don't care if Rick Pitino's coaching, 7th grade intramurals. He's going to play great defense, and they're going to be physical. I mean, that we know that about. So for Pitino to say that about a team, that opened my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially early in the season like that. But again, Rick Pitino is cut from a whole different tablecloth, if you will, than most of the rest of us. Sorry,
yes.
Couldn't resist that. I love Rick. And he's got connections, awesome. So I don't want to get on the bad side of Rick anytime soon here. No. For time purposes here, let's just look ahead to our favorite games of the week. I'm really, really excited to see this game on Saturday night from the TD Garden in Boston. UConn and BYU. Hurley's revamped Huskies and AJ DeBasta from BYU, and that team that they've put together at BYU. Really looking forward to seeing this one. Again, it's another big-time matchup. If you know nothing about AJ DeBasta, you want to watch this game because you're going to see him tested as well as you could test a kid early in his first year in big-time college hoops, and that's one. I will find TV space for that on Saturday night to watch that one for sure. I know you're going nostalgia train on us with yours. Yeah. So what do you got? Your game of the week, and there was a lot of good ones to choose from this week.
They were, but I went with Friday night in LA, part of the Hall of Fame series. I went an old Pac-10 game. Listen, when the Pac-10 was going, the one basketball game that you always, you had to watch was Arizona and UCLA. This is the Bill Walton special, right? This is just, this was the Pac-10. It really was. This was the signature game every year when they played in the tournament. It just was so great. So I went with that one. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool that they're playing. Like I said, so many great memories and so many great games between those two great basketball schools.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, pop quiz time, and we will get more and more into college hoops as we move along here deeper into the season. But pop quiz time, sticking with the college basketball theme, and I've got another edition of Hooper or Not a Hooper for you, Mac. And don't worry, T's going to have to do it one more time tomorrow too. So on tonight's edition of Hooper or Not a Hooper, we're going to start with Solo Ball. Oh. Solo Ball.
Yes, Hooper.
Do you know who he plays for a bonus?
Does he play for the University of Connecticut?
Yes, he does.
Ah!
He does. All right, that should be an indicator to you of the difficulty scale of this quiz. Solo Ball was your first one. All right, number 2 tonight, we are going to go with Cash McSweeney. Cash McSweeney. Hooper or not a Hooper?
I'm going to say not a Hooper.
He is a Hooper for Princeton. I even went Ivy League on you. Now I'm really messing with your head tonight.
No, that's all right.
All right, final one for you this evening. Final one for you this evening. Hooper or not a Hooper? Boopy Miller. Boopy Miller.
Poopy Miller.
Hooper
I
or
don't think
not a Hooper?
I don't think you could make up a name like Boopy Miller without it being real. So I'm going to say Boopy is a real Hooper.
Boopy is a real Hooper and a real darn good one
Yeah.
for the SMU Mustangs of the Fighting ACC Conference. So that
Yeah. All
concludes a
right.
short version of tonight's Hooper or not a Hooper. T will have
Hooper or
to deal
Boopy?
with it tomorrow night. Let's get into the National Football League. And while Thursday and Monday night left a lot to be desired, we also saw a lot of other weird shit in the NFL this weekend. And the playoff races are starting to take some pretty significant shape, and we'll go through the highlights and high points and low points of this past weekend because there was definitely some low points. But when you look at this in the NFC here, Mac, we've got the 8 teams that are involved in this picture, and actually it was 9. It's cut off. I did include the Carolina Panthers because at 5-5, they are still very much in this picture. But we saw a pretty seismic shift last night, and we know the big one this weekend is out west with Seattle and the Rams, top of the NFC West at 7-2, with San Francisco now 2 games behind both of them. The other catastrophic thing that happened last night was, if you were the Jekyll and Hyde, if you will, Green Bay Packers, who are now 5-3-1 and seemingly have an offense that can't score. But I thought Jordan Love was him. What happened? Why can't they score? This Packers team is going to get bounced in their first playoff game. I will tell you that right now. They don't have the offense to get it done. What do you see? What jumps out when you look at the NFC?
Two things, and they're right smack dab in the middle. The Bears are finding ways to get wins when they don't deserve to get wins. And I want to buy the Rams. I really truly want to buy the Rams. I just can't yet. I feel as though I'm walking on quicksand with the Rams, but man, they really look good. So I'm starting to buy into the Rams a little bit more. The other team that is Seattle. I mean, you were on Seattle, Mike, at the beginning of the year. You said that this was going to be a team to absolutely be, a contender, in there. You flat out said it, and they are. What I mean, what they did this past weekend to the Cardinals was an embarrassment. I mean, that game was over, and they had like 35 points in like the first 6 minutes of that game. I mean, that doesn't happen in professional football. That was impressive on every stretch. But I'd like to buy the Rams. So I'm not there yet. Maybe this week I'll get there.
Yeah, and the impressive thing, to go back to the Seahawks too, is that's not the first time this year they've dropped the hammer on somebody in the first half. It's actually the third time this year that they've exceeded the 30-point total in the first half. And that comes still with a running game, Mac, that I don't think is where it needs to be if you're going to win in the postseason. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, I remember telling my fiance before they drafted him, I said, this kid is going to be a superstar, and he has been every bit the superstar for them this year. I can't wait to see that game on Sunday. I think we've got, and I'll try and keep it on the NFC side of things here, at least at the beginning of this conversation. You've also got Bears at Vikings on Sunday. And with, you just mentioned the Bears. The Vikings are just past Carolina in the 10th spot right now. But I think there's still a lot of people. There's one person I know hoping for the other shoe to drop for the Bears, and that's TJ for obvious reasons. There's also other people that are like, it's not even the other shoe drop, and it's just waiting for the Bears to be the Bears and fall into being the Bears and do some the Bears kind of stuff. I can't do that anymore. That took a lot of breath work I didn't think I had. I think that's a sneaky interesting game here because a lot of people watching J.J. McCarthy, a lot of people trying to gauge if this Bears team has really figured it out in their first year under Ben Johnson.
We both picked the Bears to make the playoffs. And I know from my perspective, it was one of these things where I I thought they were going to get better as the season went, and that was kind of my thinking. Is that they would probably be around a 500 club midway through, and then I thought as the season went on, with new coaching staff and just kind of this development, I thought they would be better because we started to see signs of it a little bit last year. So I'm not too surprised, but they seem like every week they're in a bad spot, and they're seeming to find a way to get out of that bad spot, which all the credit to them. That's what good teams tend to do. So um, I mean, right now, it's kind of funny. I think that tie is going to come back to hurt Green Bay. I really do. I think that's going to be an issue for them. I just think as I look at this, Chicago is, to me, a much better team than Green Bay is. I think Tampa's kind of taken. I think that shine has gone off a little bit of Tampa Bay. They don't seem to be as productive, let's just put it that way, as they were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and the other huge game this weekend, as far as the NFC goes, comes to us on Sunday night, and that's the third seeded and north leading Detroit Lions heading to Philly to take on the NFC's top seed. So there is a potential here that when the weekend is done, we have Detroit at 7-3, we have Chicago at 7-3. We know we're going to get Seattle or the Rams. One of them is going to be 7-3. And here's the other thing that I want people to pay attention to in this scenario here. You see the Niners sitting down there at 6-4, 3-1 in the division, 6-2 in the conference. Well, the Niners' next 4 games are Cleveland, Carolina, Tennessee, and Arizona. I think in inverse order. And the Tennessee game comes after their bye week. So we know, barring anything catastrophic happening, the 8th seeded team on that list will be 10-4 going into the final couple of games, in which one of which is against the Bears, one of which is their second matchup against the Seahawks, and one of which is a road game on Monday Night Football against the Colts. So you're going to have the Niners get at least to 10, and that's where we have to look at those 5 through 7 teams right there, and that conference record, which, the Rams at 2-2 actually have the worst conference record in that little sub grouping there. But we're going to get a lot of adjustment, if you will, in the NFC playoff picture after this weekend. Let's move over to the AFC side, Mac, which is just as confusing. The 3 top dogs there, Indy, Denver, and New England. But now as we go down to, again, towards the bottom of the list, we have Buffalo that drops another turd on the field this past weekend. We have the Jaguars, who, again, once they pull you out, they pull you back in. You're back and forth. We have the Chargers, who, when you think they're down, they go out and just dominate again. I don't know if there's. I think right now, if I'm looking at anything, I'm looking at the NFC side and I'm going Philly's legit, Detroit's legit. If I'm looking at the AFC side, I don't think I can look here and go, this team is legit, because they're all flawed. Every single one of them is flawed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get into Denver. That's just an abomination of 8-2 if I've ever seen one. And the thing about the Patriots, people are going to say, well, they haven't played anybody, but that's not their fault. They're still 8-2. I'm just gonna flat out say it. The one team in the AFC that scares me is not on that list, and that's Baltimore.
Oh yeah, they did get cut off. They're right below Houston.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I still think I watched that Baltimore team the last couple weeks, and it's just like it's starting to happen. They went through what they went through with all the injuries and everything else. Adjustments that needed to be made, and all of a sudden, the last couple of weeks, they started to look like the Ravens team that I kind of thought they were going to be this year. That's the team, honestly, that scares me the most. Although I will say, I think the Patriots are for real. I really do. You can tell me they haven't played anybody. I like the way the Patriots play football. They play smart football. They are definitely all in on Vrabel. I like the Patriots. I would not be surprised. I'll go out on a limb and tell you right now. I think the Patriots are playing in the AFC Championship game.
I mean, the Patriots are NFC South champions, as Mike Vrabel coined in the post-game locker room after
right.
knocking off the Bucks on Sunday. So, I mean, you never know. Interesting matchups this weekend that involve some of our AFC top teams. Tampa Bay will be in Buffalo to take on the Bills. You've got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh round 2. A game that Pittsburgh absolutely has to have, especially with Baltimore charging. Baltimore has Cleveland, so do with that what you will. And then in the other big game in the AFC is the Chargers and the Jaguars this weekend, which becomes a very meaningful game for Jacksonville, especially because of their position. And we know we've got Chiefs Broncos in the afternoon. So, you know, we went through a couple rough weeks here. Sorry to burst the bubble on what sounds like a loaded NFL schedule this weekend. Your primetime Monday night game is Dallas in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Apologies in advance for anybody that will suffer watching through that with me. But other than that, we have a loaded NFL schedule this weekend, and that's good because we're getting to that time of the year where you're going to really see some movement and these teams that are, again, we've talked about it all year, Mac. I mean, it's just it's a giant collection of mid-level teams, and nobody's really separated themselves yet, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
It really is. I mean, because like you said, you just never know what you're going to get. I mean, I think last night's game is a prime example. I mean, you go into that game thinking, okay, you know, this is good. This is a pretty darn good game. You've got two good teams, and just as you're watching this, it's kind of like at some point it's going to get better, right? Like we're going to really see football, right? At some point, and like, oh, okay,
you would hope so.
Okay, they're going to make halftime adjustments, and then I mean that was just a crap fest the whole night long. I mean that was hard to get through. I mean I was glad I had some other things to kind of fall back on because I needed a break after about part of the third quarter. I couldn't take it anymore. It was too much. It was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight to the finish here because, again, like we've talked about, and we're not the only ones. A lot of people have said it. I mean, everybody's just kind of in the same general pack. And yep. That's where I think you look at teams like Detroit, you look at teams like Baltimore, you look at teams like San Francisco, you look at a team like Tampa Bay. Those are all teams that are going to get infinitely better over the next couple of weeks just because of the bodies that they're getting back that they've been without. Tampa, I think, probably strikes me as the biggest wild card because if they can get that whole offense onto the field, as much of it as they physically can this year, I think they're just as dangerous as everybody else. All right, it is a Ticket Tuesday on the program. Mack's quest to help you with your weekend planning. Sponsorships are available. Feel free to email us at mikearanashow@gmail.com if you want to be the presenting sponsor of Ticket Tuesday. But Mack, you take it away, my brother, because this is your time to shine, my friend. Where are we going this weekend on a budget?
Man, oh man. Well, I'll tell you what. I can get you into this is hard to believe. I can get you into an SEC game for $6. I can get you in to see Arkansas at LSU. Beignets on me, baby, for $6. But that's
only
not
if I get to meet Governor Jeff Landry before he screws up the coaching search for Louisiana State University.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass on that one. Nah.
All right.
You got to go to LSU when LSU is good.
So there was a couple of games and I thought there was a pretty good deal. For $6, but that was the biggest one. I could get you to Oregon State at Tulsa for $4.
No, please.
All right. Well, listen, here's the deal. This is, you can't say no to this. I could take my whole family.
Which is a lot. That's almost a full football team.
For $27.
To where?
Miami. I could see NC State at Miami. Tickets starting at $3. $3 in Miami. That can't be right. And I looked like...
Oh, it's probably very much right.
Yeah, the amount of money that we could save on $3 tickets in Miami, I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah, no, nobody's ever going to accuse the Hurricanes of having a home field advantage. That's for damn sure.
Oh my gosh. Of course the big spender this week is the which game is it? Oh, the bump. I wrote it down. The it wasn't. Oh no, this is the other one I wanted to tell you. Oklahoma and Alabama. Here's your quiz. How much? Oklahoma and Alabama. I couldn't believe this. I thought this was a little bit of a misprint as well.
Games at Bryant Denny. I'm going to say $46.
Ooh, you're close. $47.
Whoa. I was within $1.
Man,
Give me the prize pack.
that's good.
I get to go through Herb's closet and find
There you
clothes
go.
that I know he definitely doesn't wear. Don't want any of the ones he takes off. What do you got in the NFL for me? I want to get to an NFL game this week.
Hey, NFL. Hey, listen.
Not
How
really,
about this? I know. How about a good old AFC North game between Baltimore and Cleveland? $10. $10 gets you into that. Yeah, gets you into that one.
Oh.
If that doesn't fit your bill, how about Houston at Houston for $15?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I know. Houston.
I would go to that game, dude, because if you're going into a Titans game for only $15, you have so much money to spend on Broadway and Nashville. That's a sound plan right there. It's a sound plan.
Where you don't want to go is to Vegas because Dallas is playing the Las Vegas Raiders. $304. Ah, darn it! Can't take a family for 304 to probably stand and watch that game.
To the Cowboys and Raiders too, watching two horrible football teams.
Right. Goodness gracious.
Hey, so, I can get into State Farm Stadium with my 49er in town for $78.
There you go. So
chances
I was going to say
are slim, fat, gone, and none.
Yep. The highest college one I found was Texas and Georgia, 277. But I mean, if you're going to spend 277 on a ticket, that's not a bad one to spend it on.
$2.77 is what I'd spend to see the Cowboys and Raiders play in Vegas.
Right,
$2.77
exactly.
I don't think is egregious for that at all. You can go to the game between Marcus Mariota and Tua Tagovailoa in Madrid for $106. Now I don't know if that's American or not, so I'm not really sure.
Right, but that's
We'll get Mr. Conversion Rate in here tomorrow, and he can figure that
there
out.
You go. Yeah, that. But
any final words on this Tuesday evening?
Can we just get one trade in the GM meeting? Just one. Just one. That's
oh my God! Can you wait?
No,
It's a 9.5 month sport. Can you wait? Can you give me 3 weeks, man?
One trade.
I don't even want to write down the word baseball for the next 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks.
All right. One trade. It's all
I'm about to take all my baseball hats in the studio here and turn them the other way so I don't have to look at the front of them anymore. I need a baseball break.
All right.
When you have Rob Manfred fatigue like I do, I need a break. At least 3 weeks before he says something stupid. So for everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, for all of our veterans and their families out there, again, we thank you for everything that you do and all the sacrifices that you make. We will be back same bat time tomorrow, same bat channel. We'll talk a little puck. We'll set up the weekend in the football world for you. And whatever the else just decides to cross our minds. Then for Vegas Mack and Mike, you know the drill. We'll talk to you tomorrow.